They say a river never forgets. It remembers every sacrifice, every secret drowned in its waters, every promise whispered to its current. And when a river takes a bride, it does not give her back. This is the story of the Odu River, a body of water that winds through the heart of a forgotten village in West Africa. To outsiders, it was nothing but a stretch of shimmering blue, feeding the crops and quenching thirst. But to those who lived by its banks, the Odu was alive, hungry, watching, choosing. And one night, beneath a blood-red moon, the river chose its bride. Odu village was quiet, cradled by forest and the hum of insects. By day the river was gentle, a place where women washed clothes, children splashed, and fishermen cast their nets with laughter. But by night no one dared approach it. The elders warned that when the moonlight touched the Odu, the river's true face was revealed. A pale shimmer would roll across its surface and shapes, indistinct, shifting, would glide beneath the water like dancers just beneath the glass. Legends told of a goddess who dwelled there, a woman of impossible beauty and impossible wrath. Some called her Anique, the bride eternal. Others whispered she was an ancient queen drowned long ago, her spirit bound forever to the river. Whatever her name, one thing was agreed upon: when the goddess called, someone would answer. Neka was 17, the daughter of a yam farmer. She was beautiful in a way that made the old women hiss and mutter prayers. Her skin glowed like polished mahogany, her eyes large and liquid black. There was something about her laughter that unsettled people, as though it belonged more to the wind than to her. It was said that the river had been watching Neka since she was a child. Her mother often warned her not to linger by the banks at dusk, but Neka never listened. She loved the way the water seemed to hum when she sang, how the current swirled around her ankles as though in greeting. And then came the night of the festival. Once every decade, the village held the festival of the Odu, a night of offerings and dance meant to honor the river and keep it appeased. Clay pots of palm wine, roasted yams, and white cockerels were left at the banks. The drummers played until dawn, their rhythms meant to drown out whatever whispers might rise from the water. But that year something was different. The elders' faces were grave, their chants sharper, as though they feared the Odu had grown restless. As the dancers whirled, Neka drifted toward the water's edge. She swore she heard a voice calling her name. Not in shouts but in song, low, sweet, irresistible. Nekea. Nekea. She froze, the sound vibrating in her chest like a drumbeat. When she looked down she saw a face. Not her reflection but another's, a woman's, smiling up from beneath the rippling surface. And then, hands. Pale, glistening hands reaching up as though offering an embrace. The villagers dragged her back just in time. But the elders knew, the river had chosen. The next morning Neka woke with a mark on her skin, a faint blue stain like water that had soaked into her flesh. It curled across her arm in spirals the shape of waves. The old women wailed. The mark was the bride's seal. Long ago, they whispered, the river goddess had demanded brides. Girls marked by her touch were destined to be taken, drawn into the depths on the night of the blood moon. In exchange, the village would prosper, bountiful harvests, fertile wombs, protection from plague. No one dared resist. To deny the river its bride was to invite its curse. Neka's mother clutched her daughter and wept. But the mark could not be scrubbed away. As the blood moon approached, the elders prepared the rituals. Neka would be dressed in white cloth, adorned with cowries and beads, and led to the river. There she would be left alone. Some said she would drown. Others said she would walk beneath the water, her spirit fused with the goddess. Either way she would not return. But Neka was not like the other chosen brides of legend. She was not meek. She was not resigned. She began to dream. Dreams of a palace beneath the river, lit by lamps of glowing shells. Dreams of women who moved like shadows, their faces veiled. And at the center of it all, the goddess Anique. Her eyes were endless. Her smile was cruel. And her words were clear. You are mine. The night came. The moon bled red across the sky, staining the water crimson. The villagers gathered in silence as the drummers played. Neka walked, trembling, her white cloth trailing behind her like mist. At the river's edge, her mother fell to her knees, begging the goddess to show mercy. Neka turned once, locking eyes with her people. And then she stepped into the water. The river swallowed her. Part 7. The Bride Below. Beneath the surface Neka did not drown. The water parted like a curtain, drawing her down into a chamber of stone and light. And there, upon a throne of coral, sat Anique. She was radiant. Skin like polished pearl, hair floating like black silk. Around her feet lay the bones of those who had once been chosen. "Welcome, child," the goddess purred. "Welcome home." Neka shook with terror but also with anger. "Why me?" she demanded. "Why must you take us?" The goddess's smile deepened. "Because the river is life. And life must be fed. Without me your people starve. Without my brides the Odu turns dry and dead. Sacrifice is balance. You should be honored." But as Anik spoke, Neka noticed something. The veiled women around the chamber, the brides of the river, were not smiling. Their eyes were hollow, their movements stiff, as though they were puppets bound by invisible strings. Neka realized then, the goddess did not bless her brides. She devoured them. Days, or what felt like days, passed in the Underriver Palace. Neka was fed sweet fruits that made her dizzy, clothed in silks that glowed like moonlight. But her mind burned with questions. One night, a whisper reached her from the shadows. One of the veiled brides leaned close, her lips trembling. "She was once like us. A woman. A queen drowned in betrayal. She feeds because she is bound. And every bride she takes is another chain to her prison." Neka's heart pounded. If the goddess was bound, perhaps she could be unbound. Perhaps she could be destroyed. The whispers told Neka of a forbidden ritual, the reversal of the bride. If a chosen bride rejected the goddess's gift and shed her bridal marks in the river's current, the bond would break. The goddess would weaken. But the cost was death. No bride had ever dared. But Neka was not like the others. The next blood moon rose. On the river's surface, the villagers gathered again, expecting silence. Instead the water churned. A scream tore through the night. From the depths, Neka rose, her white cloth shredded, her body glowing with the river's blue fire. The goddess followed, her voice like thunder. "She is mine." The villagers fell to their knees, some in worship, some in terror. But Neka lifted her marked arm and plunged it into the current. The spirals of blue writhed, then burst apart like smoke. She screamed as the mark burned from her skin. The river roared. The goddess shrieked. And the water turned black. When the river calmed, Neka was gone. So was Anik. But the Odu never flowed the same again. Fish died in its depths. The fields withered. And the villagers whispered that Neka had not defeated the goddess. She had become her. On moonless nights, they claimed, a woman in white walked the banks of the Odu, her eyes glowing blue. She was not Anik and she was not Neka. She was something in between. Something waiting. The river still takes. But now it is no longer the goddess who chooses the bride. It is the bride herself. And so the Odu flows on, a graveyard of brides and broken promises. If you stand at its edge on a night when the moon bleeds, you may hear a voice, soft, sweet, calling your name. If you do, don't answer. For once a river chooses you, it never lets go. This was The Bride of the River, a tale whispered in shadows woven from blood, water, and forgotten myth. If you wish to hear more stories where the sacred collides with the sinister, where secrets linger in darkness waiting to be told, then step deeper into the current with us. For the river is only the beginning. Subscribe to Stories in the Shadows. The next tale is already waiting.